Welcome to Boomer Travel Patrol. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and today we are covering a very interesting topic. We're talking about living an independent, a location-independent lifestyle. And we have an expert on the subject with us today. His name is Paul Kortman. He's the co-founder of nomadtogether.com. He also authors a blog, a travel blog called Home Along the Way, and he's written a book with his wife called Family Freedom. So welcome, Paul.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You're very welcome. Now, you definitely don't look like a boomer, but, but we're going to give you special dispensation to talk to us today.
Awesome. Thanks. You're only as old or as young as you feel. So.
This is true. This is true. So a lot of people who are in that, 50 plus age range, maybe either, thinking about retirement or maybe they're in the throes of it, dream about, traveling the world. Now they've got the time. Many of them have the disposable income to do it. This is an extreme approach that you've taken, but I thought, it bears discussion because if you can do it with your wife and 4 children, certainly a retired couple could maybe throw their hat in the ring and give it a shot. So wanted to talk to you about your experience, how you kind of came to this place and how it's been going so far.
Yeah. Well, a couple of different things. It's all about mode of transportation. So what I love about this conversation is how can we travel the world? We're actually in an RV. I'm sitting in my RV right now. It's a Class A motorhome, thus the big windows. And most people think, oh, I'll retire, buy an RV and travel the US. And it's like, no. Buy an RV and travel the world. We were at Yellowstone just a couple of days ago, and there was a couple there, and we actually followed them from Tetons to Yellowstone, and we got their story. They're from Switzerland, and they shipped their RV over to the US, and they're driving around the US for like 3 or 4 years. They already covered Africa a couple of years ago, and sure enough, they had a picture of Africa, and they had every country in there because they had spent a couple of nights at least in each country in Africa. So it's one of those things of like, okay, just kind of bend your mind just a little bit. Yes, you can do it. You can sail around the world. You can drive around the world because yes, to get to South America, we have to ship our RV. To get to different continents, we'll have to ship our RV, or you could fly around the world. And we can talk about each one of those. We've done 2 of them. My wife's pushing us to do the 3rd. And so, it's more about, and I would actually say, yeah, you're retired and maybe you have, flexible income, but most people are disposable income. Most people I talk to after they retire, they're on fixed income. True. And so it's like, how can we cut costs and still travel the world? And that's what my wife and I have done with our 4 kids, 9 and under. So why not do the same when you're retired? We view ourselves as working retired right now. We're living the travel lifestyle of a retiree, but still working every day.
It's unbelievable. All right. Well, I mean, I don't want to, go on and on about the costs and stuff like that, but I am curious, how much does it cost to ship an RV, from Europe to the US or vice versa?
Right. It can get expensive if you're smart about it, which we're not. But if you were smart about it, you would heed advice and buy an RV that you can drive into a shipping container. Ours is too tall. And so we can't fit it into a shipping. It's also too long. So what we do is we have to do what's called roll on, roll off. And we hand the keys to our RV to somebody at the dock. And that is really scary for us. Because, our entire house, our entire belongings are accessible by that key. So, I've also talked with other people who fly, they're from the US, they flew over to Germany, they bought an RV there, they're driving it around for 2 years, they'll sell it in Germany, fly to the next continent, buy an RV, drive it around for a couple of years and do the same thing. So that could be more cost effective, but what we're doing, the shipping that we have to do from Central America to South America is about between $2,000 and $5,000, depending on hassles we run into, aka bribes. So that's kind of the range that we're looking at.
Wow. Okay. It's intriguing. Okay. So for a couple, let's just assume it's a couple who, decide to take this on, what are your recommendations in terms of, how do you begin the research? Where I know you started out in Southeast Asia. Is that the place that, most people should start? I mean, particularly as you say, if they are on a fixed income.
I would say, well, so you're in Australia right now, right? Or are you in the US?
I wish I was in Australia. I'm in Putnam County, New York.
Okay, so it's for like our audience who we talk to are native English speakers. So it's typically, England, Australia, the US basically is what we talk to. And
Uh-huh.
for Australians, like Bali is considered like everybody goes to Bali just for vacation, no big deal.
Yeah.
And for the US, Mexico is our Bali. Like, who cares
Yeah,
about
right.
Mexico?
It's true.
That's where all the honeymooners go. And Australians are like, oh, we'd love to go to Mexico. And US people are like, oh, we'd love to go to Bali. And the other way around, they're like, it's a stupid
That's so
place. Why would you
true.
go there,
It's so
right?
true. Yep.
And people in England are like, are you guys kidding? I'll go to either one. So anyways, what we joke about is Mexico is a perfect place to start.
Okay.
You get to cut costs and you have a safety net of, there's a good relationship between the US and Mexico and you can come back. Now everybody's like, oh, but I know it's strange, isn't it? But, there's homicides and it's so dangerous and all this. And it's like, well,
Kidnappings and
okay,
all that. Yeah.
fair enough. Look at who's being kidnapped. It's never an old retired couple. Sorry. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's either drug related or somebody who got into the wrong situation because they stuck their nose in a place they shouldn't have.
Uh-huh.
So what I would say is, we set up a community called nomadtogether.com to help people take these initial steps. Ours is family focused, and we consider family being anything more, two or more. So
Uh-huh.
if it's a husband and wife, hey, guess what? We consider you a family. So
Okay.
anyways, what we try to do is help people make those wise decisions of where in Mexico is it safe or right for me to go. My wife and I are going to be driving from one coast to the other because that's just what we feel is safe. But anyways, what I'm saying is, if you're in the US, it's an easy start to get into Mexico, to cut some costs and to say, how does this travel work for us? Even if you fly there, or if you take a boat, or if you take an RV, or just drive a car there, it's a good first step just to say, okay, how is this? And yes, then starting with that, then backing up and going, okay, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of planning and all that, but that's true no matter where your destination is. This way, it's just real simple to pick someplace close that will put you a little bit out of your comfort zone because they don't all speak English, and figure out how well it works for you.
Okay. So, up until this point, you could still be talking about a vacation. I think when the wrinkles start to surface is, okay, this all sounds great. I'm in Mexico. How am I living here?
Yeah.
So is it go ahead.
The difference between a vacation and a lifestyle is really huge. However, those of us who choose a location independent or a traveling lifestyle, we tend to take a longer, you could call it vacation, like a 3 to 6 month initial test trip, just to say, hey, how's this going to work out for us? Are we going to like it or not? And so it's more than a vacation because it's not just a week or two. You pack differently for it. That's the key. Like, you start saying, okay, how many shirts do I need? Because we're going to be doing laundry. Do I really need to take a shirt for every day? Not if I'm going to stay there 6 months because we're going to be doing laundry. So that's different than vacation, where vacation, you're just like, I'm not going to do laundry. How many shirts do I need for the whole 2 weeks that we're going to be there? So that gets you into the new way of thinking and packing and preparing of like, okay, I'm going to be there for a couple of months. I'm not going to go out to eat every day. How do I cook food? Where do I cook food? Where do I buy groceries? That sort of thing. So that's where I try to encourage people, is to take a 3 to 6 month sort of initial test trip find out how that works. Because as much as you can read, as much as you can study, you can listen to me all you want, you're a different couple, you're a different individual than anybody else. And so it might impact you differently, and it might not be the best thing for you. You might get down there and you might go, well, I like the travel, but Mexico's terrible. Okay, fine. Or you might say, I love Mexico, but I hate being away from my family. Okay, well then, you have to choose a different lifestyle.
Okay. So all that considered, give us a couple of highlights of your favorite places aside from Mexico. Just talk generally speaking. What stood out for you and your family in terms of, wow, that was awesome?
Ironically, it's Bali. Bali,
Ah,
Indonesia is just a fantastic place. You can get off the tourist trail and really just kind of get lost and enjoy it. Their housing is open air, so it's a walled courtyard with grass and a pool. And then your bedrooms, the doors open up to the courtyard. The kitchen is wide open, so you have lizards and critters coming in your kitchen all day and every day, and it's fun. Um, the snake in the grass was a little bit much for us, having young kids, but
yeah.
other than that, I mean, it's really fantastic. What I love
Right.
about Bali is also that labor is really, really cheap. And so you can hire a cook for less than it would cost to eat at a restaurant in the US. And
Oh my
so it's like,
goodness,
wait a
that's
minute,
fantastic.
I could just not have to cook and not have to go out to a restaurant, have somebody buy all my groceries and cook good food here in my house for me.
Oh,
And still save money.
yeah.
It's like suddenly, in my generation, we call that baller. Just like suddenly you're like living the high life, and that's so. Anyways,
Unbelievable. So
Bali is definitely the place we loved the
that's
best.
tops on the list. All right. So just so everybody knows and gets a better sense of how you kind of manage this, Airbnb was sort of your main source for housing, right?
Yeah, well, how we did it is we would book an Airbnb for a week, once we bought the tickets or whatever. And like our first week, we would stay in an Airbnb. That would give us time to acclimate. Our first week in the Philippines was jet lag issues. But then after that, we would connect with local real estate agents, because
Ah,
what we found is Airbnb and Flipkey and other sources like that all have markups in them, and people who are advertising their properties on there are charging more, plus the markup of Airbnb. So
mhm,
what we found is connecting with local real estate agents, unlike in the US where real estate agents are only dealing with sales,
mhm.
in many of the other cheap cultures or developing world cultures, real estate agents deal in rentals. And so we were able to connect with some real estate agents in the Philippines and in Thailand, to be able to say, hey, can you negotiate a price for us? We're looking for a month-long rental at this rate, and it needs to have these amenities. And they were able to do it because they get a commission off of that,
Wonderful.
and realize that, those, much like in the US, real estate agents there make a lot of money because that's high dollar considering what the cook in the restaurant gets.
Right,
So
right, right. And does that strategy play out well in other geographies, in Europe, as an example? Could you do that too, or
it,
not so much?
it's really dependent upon each country. And I would say, not perhaps from what I know of Europe, not so much.
Okay.
Is that, Europe, you're going to end up looking through classifieds and that sort of thing instead of finding an agent. Agents are typically about buying and selling. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, for us, we were in Portugal and we found this awesome little house. It just happened to be 2 hours drive outside of the city. And so it was like, oh, we'd have to rent a car, and that's a budget buster. So it was, we weren't interested in it. But the house was really cute and fun and nice. I just wished it wasn't 2 hours outside the city. So,
Yeah, that's a
anyways,
bummer. That's a
yeah.
All right. So, couple of pieces of advice before we let you go for boomers who want to take this on. What do you say to them?
Well, one of the things is, if you haven't looked into it before, look into frequent flyer points through, or look into points through credit cards and churning credit cards, because at your point in life, you don't necessarily need the credit. So if you make a mistake, no big deal, but you have the credit. And so why not use that to your advantage and be able to get, most of the people that do this get international first class tickets once a year for free. So, you know, like that'll save you a lot of money, and you can fly first class, which is, you know, as I said, baller or living the high life. That's one of the points. The other point is join a community. There are lots of communities for retired folk who are RVing, or families, in our case, families who are traveling around the world internationally. I recommend Nomad Together because that's what we do. But there are lots of communities out there. Find your niche and join with them, because you don't want to be lonely. You know, it's just no fun. You've left your family, you've left your home, something you've known for 40, 50 years, and you're on this new adventure, but you're all alone. So join a community, whether it's digital or physical, and be a part of something bigger than yourself.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. So as a reminder, nomadtogether.com. Find out more about Paul and his wonderful family, and buy his book.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.